morning and welcome to the Workforce Observer. We're so happy today to have with us Ericka Hyson, author and growth advisor. She is a 24-year veteran in the staffing industry and has successfully scaled high-growth companies. As an advisor, she's helping CEOs in the workforce solutions ecosystem who are serious and committed to growth. Welcome, Ericka. How are
Thank you
you
so
doing?
much. It's so nice to be here with you today.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm going to start by asking, what does it really take to grow in a difficult economic climate? What do you think the biggest challenges for the firms in our ecosystem are? And also, you put out you started doing this a year ago, right? So
Yes.
it's great. So tell us.
Well, I think that's the $1 million question right now, right? Everybody wants to know, how do I grow during a tough time? And, it's funny. I am very fortunate that I work with companies that are all growing right now. And I think despite the doom and gloom on the news, one of the things, probably a misconception, but I was just reading SIA put out their report for the fastest growing companies, and
Yes.
there's lots of growth out there and opportunity. So, I guess for our listeners today, there's a lot of positivity out there, and certainly happy to share some of the things that I'm seeing out there of the companies that are doing really well.
Yeah. So what then is the challenge? It sounds like the news, is saying something, but there are obviously good things happening. So what do you think what's the gap?
Well, I think it probably is, down at the customer level, right? Depending on how big you are, the concentration that you have. It's very difficult to answer that without knowing more about the specific situation. Certainly, some
Right.
industries have declined more than others, but, certainly being obsessed with your customers is always a great best practice for the companies that I work with. They all have that in common, and really thinking about customers from the point of view and staffing. It's very unique to have really three customers: your talent internally as a customer that you're focused on, your customers that are your billable clients, certainly, and then your talent as a customer, keeping your workforce happy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
paying attention to them, and despite what's happening in the market, and even if there is a downturn at the customer level, staying close to them, because when things rebound, they're going to remember who was close to them, and certainly.
That's a really good point. Uh, uh, yeah, it's a really good point. So let's talk about, you talked about some of your clientele, and you were lucky that they're growing, they're thriving. So
Yeah.
what are the do's and the don'ts for these companies? They're here. So
Yeah. Well, I think, first and foremost, we talk
yeah.
about being committed to your clients, staying close to them, listening to them, looking for ways to add incremental value, right? So, if you're already doing business with a certain amount of clients, what more could you be doing with them? It's always the fastest way to more revenue is
Right.
to do more with what you are currently doing. So,
Right.
certainly an opportunity.
Like basically you're saying, don't worry so much about the new business. Try to, do
Well,
more for the companies that are already engaged with you, you know.
it's a both and, Subhadra. It's not an or. I think the other piece of that is to be really intentional. I've heard a lot of rhetoric in the industry that I hear this all the time. My salespeople forgot how to sell, and
Explain that. What does
and
that
and
mean?
what people mean is that my sales team might have become order takers, because the industry was so abundant of job orders, and when there are people just needed talent, right? We're coming out of a time where talent was in high demand. So,
Right, that's
so,
true.
so sales reps forgot how to sell is the terminology that you hear. And, one piece of what these companies that are growing are doing is being really intentional and purposeful about how they are going to market, how they are going after business. And, it's okay to be opportunistic and having, saying yes to a customer who asks you to do something for them. But you also need to make sure that you have a plan and you're working your plan. So being disciplined enough to know what you're going to say yes to, what you're going to say no to, and being super purposeful on what you're actually executing against.
Let's talk about this. You're saying you are seeing companies with a growth mode. What are the traits of these companies? I think that's always good to
It's my
know because
favorite.
people, can at least say, "Oh, okay, I can relate to that," or "I can go there."
Subhaja, this is like my favorite topic, so I don't know how much time we have today, but I've had
Plenty,
the
plenty.
privilege for 25 years to work in high-performing companies that are growing. It's all I know. That's my obsession, right? So whether it be in the last 1 year where I have been advising CEOs that are in growth mode who are looking to continue to grow their business and who are still growing despite the economy, but also, just in my past experience of working in high growth companies. It always starts at the top with the CEO who has a clear vision, a great plan to get there, and is working really hard to get the whole leadership team on the same page of where are we going. So what's the North Star? Is it clear? And do we know not just where we're going, but do we have a plan to get there? The second piece is the commitment. There are companies out there that, for whatever reason, no judgment, might be a lifestyle business, and others are more aggressive of really wanting to grow to the next level. And wherever you are, it doesn't matter what size, but just having that mindset of having a growth mindset to learning, growth, being open to new ideas, new perspectives, collaboration even. They're also really positive in the face of challenges. There's this idea of the psychology of seeing a challenge as an opportunity instead of a challenge as something that is going to deter you. So it's a mindset piece, that commitment and drive. The
Oh,
third,
interesting. Do you think that it's because it's just really psychology? Is some people are positive and some are not, or is it more than that? I'm just curious because I see people who get up and roll their sleeves up and start doing stuff and they enjoy it, and there are some people who can't. Like a CEO for different times. How it's often been said. So what do you think it
yeah,
is? It's
I
just
mean,
like a
I don't know if you're familiar. There's a wonderful book called Growth Mindset. It's really about being, not just about being positive about, looking at the bright side. It's about really being open to learning new things, to hearing different perspectives, to thinking that there might be another way. And,
who is this by? Do you know? It'd be good for.
it's Carol Dweck. It's a great book, but being positive is also important, right? Being able to look at a challenge and say, how do we solve this? How do we solve this? And what smart people do I need to surround myself with to figure this out? If it's
Right.
not me having all the answers, like how do I get around this? How do I figure this out?
Right.
So those are common things. The third thing is really about curiosity is a piece of that, I would say, which kind of bleeds into the third thing, which is the culture of having strong core values that are important and ingrained in the company, that have this belief system that there's a high performing culture that or of winning. And I'm not really a big fan, Subhadra, of sports analogies, but I really can't help myself but thinking about, especially in staffing, I love thinking about football teams and how every position on a field really has to have everyone knowing what position they're going to play and do it really well. And there's always a healthy tension between sales and delivery or recruiting, and you need both sides to perform extremely well to be a championship team. And you need a great coach, you need a great quarterback, and so that
And in this instance, the quarterback would be the CEO, or would the quarterback be different division heads, depending on the size, I
It could be
guess?
a branch leader. It could be whoever's throwing the
Got it.
ball, right, to run the play. So you could, and I think that's
Yeah.
the whole point, is to be able to cascade down the strategic plan, the vision for the company, and then make sure every player on the field knows what play they're going to run and how to do it, and what is ready to catch the ball if that's the role that they're going to play, and they also
Got it.
know what's expected of them. What is my position on the field? And it's easy to say that, but to actually bring that to life is it's
Yeah.
challenging, right? It takes work, it takes discipline, it takes an investment in people. I have a lot of people who think they're going to go hire the perfect person that's going to walk in and bring this playbook of customers, their experience sales, and they're going to make it rain. And the company's not going to do any work to have to get them there. And that is never the case. So, at the foundation, great people with great systems, tools, and processes are going to create amazing customer experiences. And that's going to lead to great results financially, right? So those investments in people and making sure they are knowing what play to run every time, whatever the quarterback's role is. Depending on how small you are, it could be the CEO, but the CEO might be playing the coach, the owner, and the quarterback, depending on how big or small you are. But
Fair.
being
Fair.
able to
Okay.
cascade that down and make sure that everybody is on the same page and knows the play is a big piece of what they're doing really well. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be challenges, but to me, it's really about having great people. It starts there.
It starts there, yeah. Thank you, thank you. So, what trends are you seeing right now? First, are you seeing anything, and also, do these trends reflect broader changes?
It's a great question. For those of you that don't know me, Subhadra, my background is a little bit unique because I worked for 20 years at an Etain group
At
as
Etain,
an
yes.
operator of a staffing company, and then for the past 6 years, I've been servicing the industry from a software and a marketing services perspective,
That was
and
working, right? Working.
I was
So
at
Etain working. I
I was
met you at Etain.
Oh yeah, yeah. Back when you were putting out you were the pioneer of the first SIA Power Women in Staffing list,
Yes, yes.
Subhadra, among other
Thank you.
things that you pioneered. You're a legend in the industry.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So
Yes.
you. Sorry, I interrupted you, but your unique
So my background, I've always
background.
really enjoyed seeing what's happening across the broader industry, and a member for SIA, ASA, and trying to stay on top of trends across all the verticals. And I just fortunately, there are a lot of clients out there and companies still growing despite what's happening in the industry overall. There's certainly some slowdown in the M&A space. More companies preparing themselves for either doing a transaction, either looking for companies to buy, or preparing themselves to do so, or thinking about an exit. But certainly, all the companies that I've heard are really focused on sales, whereas they may have been focused on recruitment or finding talent. They're really all investing in sales and marketing, and certainly having more conversations about marketing as a strategic growth driver versus a cost center.
Wow,
So really
that's new.
looking at marketing as a function of sales versus sort of this arts and crafts thing that's over here. And I think that's important, because if you're investing in sales, you also investing in marketing.
Wow.
And then,
Okay.
from a personnel perspective, I think the balance is always, and, we just, when you think about expenses, profitability, managing a healthy company, you always want to grow your top line, but you certainly want to make sure you're doing it while also being very profitable. And when when your top line isn't there, but you feel like it's going to come back, are you comfortable holding on to the expense, right? Do you need to, lay off people or keep your people? That's always a debate, right? So only the company knows what to do there. But it's very costly to replace great people. The cost
it
of
is.
having to rebuild a team. And so just continuing to keep people highly engaged and retaining people, wherever possible financially is also a trend that I'm seeing, is just what can I do to make sure I'm keeping my people happy and engaged. Although there's concern that if the market is not great right now and people aren't hiring talent, that as soon as they are, that people might leave, right? So it's
True.
something to be cautious about, and arguably even more reason to be investing in your people so that
Yeah.
they don't jump ship, right? Highly
Right.
engaged people are 3 times more productive than those that are not. So
Right. Well, yeah,
it's a balance. So again, that's a personal level at a company level, but that figuring out that balance for the company, as you're committed to your business, making a decision in that minute, knowing 6 months from now or 4 months from now or 2 weeks from now, you may wish you had not done that, right?
Right.
So
Gosh, it is hard. Yeah.
you're not hiring. What are you doing to grow the team you have, and hopefully get to retain the people you have as well, depending on your strategy. And then I think the other commonality is what I started this conversation with, is just growing your current clients. And what else could you be doing for them, creatively? I think that's a trend. What else? There's some cool stuff happening, right? Whether it's bringing a partner in or looking for some white space of a service you could do for them that they don't even know that they need. It's
Right.
kind of that intersection of what you're great at, what you think your client could use or is already using, but where do you explore that to create more stickiness and expand your market share with your current clients, while also going out intentionally to get new business. And these are not really intriguing, Subhadra, but
No, I mean,
sales is king right now. Everybody's
right.
talking
I think
about it.
that's really
Training
important. Yeah.
salespeople, building sales strategy, because the salespeople
Right.
forgot how to sell. Their order
Right.
takers, segmenting. Do you have a plan? Who are your
Got it.
customers? Are these your customers on purpose? Really analyzing whether you're doing business with the right customers, and how do you get your team highly focused on and disciplined to go get it if they're not quickly. It's
No.
definitely a theme.
I know you facilitate a client advisory board. Talk
Yes.
to me about this. How does that help growth, and what's your role, and how does this
Yeah.
work? I think I was intrigued when we spoke earlier. So,
Yes. Well, it's actually another way I really enjoy staying on the pulse of what's happening in the industry, and such a cool opportunity for me to be able to provide this service. So without getting too into the weeds, where I'm, out of respect for confidentiality for my client,
sure,
but
sure.
I really had an amazing opportunity to partner with a industry supplier, I'll say, who had never had a advisory board before, and
Just to clarify, when you say industry supplier, you mean industry staffing supplier, or do you mean a vendor to the industry?
a vendor to the industry.
Okay, all right,
And
got it.
so their clients are staffing companies.
Staffing company. Okay,
And they were looking to start an advisory board of clients. And they'd never done it before. And they asked me about doing it, and they didn't know where to start. So I had an opportunity to work with their steering committee and their executive leadership team to understand what their goals were, build out a charter, objectives, and also to facilitate their member discussions with their advisory board members. And so there's like maybe 12 people in the advisory board. And so we designed the experience really to provide mutual benefit to both the client and the members. And for the members, it's about an opportunity to engage peer-to-peer for growth, learning. For the client, it's an opportunity for them to really get that voice of the customer feedback, which is so invaluable to be able to really help them with whatever the thing is they would like to discuss. It could be about a specific product or service to inform their business strategy or a key decision, and just.
And these staffing firms are different staffing firms, and they're actually competition in some ways
Yes,
with one
that's
another, but they
right.
still sit down in a room together and discuss different tools and different techniques. Well,
That's right. It's an opportunity to, the agenda gets shaped uniquely for each session. So that's the fun part is I get to facilitate the conversation and and my job is to ensure that we uphold the charter and accomplish our goals and add value to both parties so that the members benefit from the learning and growth of hearing from each other, but also for the client that they can, learn from their customers. And client feedback is really important. And I think, when we think about digital transformation and all of the trends of buying behavior, our customers are buying differently now. And to have feedback loops is really an important piece of it. So I think it's a really sort of great opportunity if you're not having conversations with your customers. It can be informal or formal. This is obviously a really formal example where there's a strategy and a plan, and it's we have measured goals and structured meetings, but staying in tune with what's happening with your customers and really learning from them. If you're not doing that, even if it's just picking up the phone or going out on the road with your salespeople, it's a great opportunity.
I mean, I know that you said you don't want to spend too much time on this, but just one liner also would be nice. Technology, AI, the hype cycle. What do you see? Do you see anything, or you're like, love your view?
Yes. Well, it's funny. I've been reflecting a little bit about this because I was thinking about back in like 99, I started in IT staffing, and I can remember like people saying, we got to get in on this internet thing. The World Wide Web, it's a thing. And I feel kind of the same way about AI. For some it's like a buzzword, but it's really the future, and it's not something it's not going away. It's certainly a buzzword because a lot of people don't know much about it or are afraid of it or don't, there's so many different generations that are exploring it. And I was thrilled at parent-teacher night the other night at my son's school. He's in high school. And there was topics about AI in every single class. And what I thought was, really applicable to what was happening in the classroom is really a great parallel to what's happening in the world right now in the businesses. If maybe arguably my son is going to be better prepared for this than a lot of the companies that I see out there. But really, automation for routine tasks is going to create more demand and for critical thinking, emotional intelligence, creative problem solving, interpersonal communication. And so at my son's school, they're literally making sure that people are communicating, right? Like the phones are in a pouch and the kids aren't even allowed to walk around campus with their phones and like looking at it, which I think is so brilliant. They're preparing the kids for the future of work, right? So that they can be humans and connect with each other. I
That's a good way
certainly
of putting it.
think that there's going to be roles we don't even know about that will exist, which is exciting. Think about how fast people can make decisions because information is coming so fast, right? Through AI, whether
Yeah.
you're a physician or an attorney or an executive in a staffing company, how you want to leverage AI. There's some pretty cool stuff happening with skills matching using AI tools to
Yep.
help, especially in hard to find talent roles where on a resume, like think about recruiting as an example. If you hire people without any experience, how do you know based on a resume if they're going to be good at the job, right? You could do an assessment, but how do even where do you even start? So being able to leverage tools like Adept ID to be able to, source and match, to do the matching intelligently to see if predictively someone's going to be successful, not, and it wouldn't pass a typical filter in like a Boolean search in our industry. So being able to provide opportunities and access for folks who might otherwise be getting overlooked. I think that's really cool and a positive opportunity for our industry to
I
potentially
agree.
give access to folks who may otherwise get overlooked. But with that also comes all of the, probably a whole other podcast story on all the ethics and related to AI, whether it be from data security and privacy
Yeah.
to the bias in algorithms. There's just so much to unpack there and to understand. So I'm a huge advocate for learning and being curious and experimenting. But for the staffing leaders also to have a policy in your company. If you don't have one, you should, because your data is your data and you want to make sure you're protecting it. And it's important to make sure you're educating people on what the appropriate use of AI is and what could be inappropriate.
Thank you. So it's 2025. What's next in the world of work? What do you think?
Oh my gosh, 2025 is like next week.
I know.
Oh gosh. Well, I wish I had a crystal ball. I am very passionate about technology. Obviously, I jumped right out of a great career at Etain Group to dive headfirst into working with and building technology companies, and had such a blast at working, helping the industry transform and embrace digital transformation. And we just talked about AI. At the end of the day, looking at how your customer is thinking differently about how they want to be serviced is huge, right? So if we think about what can we be doing to better serve the needs of our customers, whether it's talent or client, and how could we leverage technology to improve that? How can we organize ourselves better to support our customers? And Netflix ruined us. We don't go to Blockbuster anymore to watch a movie. We get things on demand. I have zero tolerance to watch commercials. These are the same people that buy our services as an industry. And so
That's true.
do they expect to still be serviced in the same way that they did 5 years ago, 2024, 2023? If we're not doing something that's going to improve their customer experience, then someone else will. So I get excited about the transformation of it. Just like I get excited when I can use my mobile phone to check into my hotel because I love my Marriott Bonvoy app. And so I would like to say that, we're going to see continued innovation and transformation through AI and adoption of automation of tasks and what can I do to make life easier for a customer? Do they want self-service? Do they not want self-service? Do they want to see my face? Do they not want to see my face? And that's exciting to me. I have
It
hope.
is. It
I
is.
have hope and optimism that the world is still evolving, and I can't wait to see. I don't know that 25 is the year that it's going to be game changing, but the technology, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. During COVID, we saw such an acceleration of staffing companies changing how they engage, embracing technology to look at how they shape, the way they're servicing customers.
Sure.
And I think that will continue. And I think our industry is a little bit behind. It's kind of like, healthcare is behind, where you still have to sit down and fill out a clipboard when you go into the waiting room. Even though there's an app and you just did it on the app, you still might have to fill it out again.
You might have to, yeah. Yeah.
So the companies that are ahead and they're growing, I mean, you can look at the numbers. Aya Healthcare stands out to me. They're a tech forward company. You look at their growth and somebody to pay attention to. So how are you looking at leaning into technology to improve your customer experience, not to replace what you've been doing, but to enhance it? So I'd like to think that there's going to be some cool new stuff on the horizon, or continued innovation and embracing technology to serve customers.
Well, thank you. And, last, any advice for the companies looking to grow?
Wow. Well, yes, I'm partial to validating your strategy with outside perspective. So whether it, having been a benefactor of a peer group for much of my career, I was smart enough to be working with people that were smart enough to know that we didn't have it all figured out. So this is what I do for a living now, is I help provide perspective, whether it's validation, yes, this is a great plan, you're doing all the things, or another way of looking at things. So outside perspective is always great. And the second is just, maybe looking for that white space, right? Where is the white space that you could take market share, explore that intersection of what you're great at and what services that your customers or your future customers might value that you could go get. And it might be a little risky. And I think it was Harvard Business Review. It's a great quote. I should have written it down, but they said, if it's not a little bit scary, it's probably not very strategic.
Oh, well.
So taking a little risk and doing something a little bit scary might be exactly what you need. And then I guess lastly, just staying positive. It's a really fun industry. This is a people business. We're there's a lot to learn during a down economy. If your business is not up, it may be a good time to do some lessons learned and learn from it and figure out a move forward strategy to pivot.
Thank you. This was great. It was wonderful talking to you, and I love the insights. For those of you who want to learn more, the links will be in the description. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun to talk with you today. I appreciate you having me.